the importance of patience and humility, doing the work of the Lord, and how we should be in response to when things aren't going your way, when you're frustrated. Um, there's a lot of issues that I've been tackling at the root. You see, I could tell you about, oh, if you need to conquer lust, then do no fap. Okay, that sounds fine. It sounds good on paper, but I'm going to tell you, spiritual warfare doesn't always work that way. So, what I mean is, there's always a root. There's always a root to every plant, to every flower. There's a root, okay? And to weeds, it's the same thing. If you don't pull weeds out and you don't get the roots out of the ground, they can grow back. So, with me, the root is not lust. The lust is what seeps out of the ground. It's what you can see on the outside. But in the dirt, deep down in that dirt, it's actually something else. It's trauma, it's rejection. The Lord showed me this morning, like the pain, like the things that have been, done to my heart. And that means my soul, like it's the wounds in my soul. He made me feel like those wounds in my soul, and what, like, that's like the real cause of these issues. It's the real problem. I would feel guilty. I would feel it would be a cycle of like shame, or a cycle of feeling you're not good enough or something like that. But it's just a cycle. It has nothing to do with who I really am. It's just like something I need to remove. It needs to be healed. And one thing I recognize is prayer and fasting does help, but emotional healing is a really important thing. There's like there's a lot of moving parts in the healing process. It's not just do this thing and you're healed. It's not just do A, B, C. A lot of times it takes time. It takes renewal of your mind and renewal of your soul. And it doesn't just happen overnight, man. And it doesn't just happen if you do 100 days in a row. You do 100 days in a row of no fapping, and you could still have that root of lust in you because of the trauma that you never dealt with, because you never went to therapy, or you never dealt with the rejection, or you never dealt with the family curses, the generational things. There is so many things that we as men, you do not see it. You cannot see it. And then we drug ourselves, or we bury ourselves in our work to be able to like just block it out, right? Because men don't talk about their feelings. Men, and it's normalized now where you're just like Batman. Like the man just has to be like Batman. You know what I'm saying? But that's not reality. Reality is when men develop these really bad habits, these bad cycles, it's not because the addiction is not simply just because they like that thing. It's because internally you have a soul wound, and you're running to X, Y, and Z to avoid or to treat your soul wound when you're not actually dealing with it with the God, and you're not going straight to God to help you heal it, and asking like what it even is, because a lot of guys, they numb it so much, that they don't even know what they're numbing anymore. But what happens is, when there's a crack in your armor, when somebody says something that rubs you the wrong way, when there's that little crack in your armor, that internal soul wound will make you go crazy. Will make you act out of character. And I seen that happen for me. That happened to me when I had a, you know, chip in my armor, and I totally lost my mind because I was living in a delusion of trying to please God, trying to please my spouse, and trying to be perfect for them, right? But I was under the impression that, oh, if I just do everything right, I can earn their love. I can earn God's love. It doesn't work that way. But I was taught that. That's how I was taught was I was never good enough and I had to do this and that and this and that to get love, to receive approval, appreciation. I thought approval equaled love, or I thought like the person staying with me equaled love, or like like that's what I thought, and it was completely wrong. It was like very childish because that inner child in me was still present and still hurt and still like, yo, you need to do everything you can to keep this woman around, like it's your only chance. And like I wasn't thinking from a logic, like I had no logic whatsoever. I also thought everything was spiritual when some matters are not spiritual, because I would go straight to the Bible, or pray, or whatever, just to solve every problem, and that's also foolish in a sense because we still live in the world. We're not of the world, but when you realize you're not of the world, sometimes you go and you take everything so spiritual. Like I went the complete opposite of my dad. My dad is everything is physical, nothing spiritual doesn't exist, and that's the other opposite. That's the other toxic behavior. That's the other toxic mindset. And the healthy mindset would be, well, we're spiritual beings, but we live in the physical world. But I went all the way to the other side, which was everything spiritual, which is foolish. You know what I mean? That made me a fool because I would completely depend on my practices or the voice that I was hearing, but I didn't understand that I was listening to a demon at the time, and the demon came from my childhood. It came from my environment, and I thought that it was God, and it wasn't God. See, these things really happen, and nobody talks about it because they would just want to call it a mental health thing. But a mental health diagnosis doesn't just go away without treatment. So I'm completely fine. So how could you define this as mental health when I go to the Lord and he heals me and then it's gone and I don't hear those voices anymore. Or if I do hear a voice, I'm able to determine that that is not God, and I get rid of it because I understand spiritual warfare. But these people try to tell us that if you're hearing voices, then you are not healthy. And I would just counter you and say, well, the voices these people hear are actually spirits, and they exist because the Bible says they exist. Jesus Christ says they exist, and they're real, and they're very evident in the whole world right now. They are evident. People project their evil spirits onto other people. Some of them come through contact. That's why you get to put the full armor of God on you every day. You got to pray and stay prayed up. These things are not taught, bro. These things are not taught. But it's the irony is you can go on YouTube and you can find tutorials on how these people, these dinguses, do witchcraft, and they teach other people how to do that. But nobody's out here really teaching, okay, how do I destroy someone who's doing witchcraft intentionally to harm me? There's actually not a lot of information on that. I used to look it up on YouTube. Nothing. You can't find anything on that, but you can find all the tutorials on how to do XYZ spell. And I'm just like, how is this a thing? And there's nothing on how to like destroy them, you know? Well, it's rigged. It's absolutely rigged. But the funny thing is, the Lord will give you the knowledge you need because you have to be in the right spirit. You don't have to be like paranoid about it. See, I was paranoid. I knew I knew there was an attack. I knew there was I was outnumbered, and I knew it was intentional, and I knew my mind was under attack and my heart was under attack. I knew I was under attack. I could perceive the threat. But the problem was I was so obsessed with the threat, and I wasn't obsessed with my protector or my guardian. And I didn't feel as close to God as I should have. I wasn't carrying the presence of the Lord like I am now. And he would even give me the power I needed to survive and to fight. But I didn't know how to fight. I was like a baby. I was scared. I was really scared because I get these nightmares and they get to me. I get nightmares, they get to me. Now, when I get a nightmare, I just get angry, I get aggravated, and then I pray and I cancel it. And I'm like, well, that has nothing to do with me. That has nothing to do with my life. There's nothing, no power over me. If I get a dream like that, I know it's not from God. You know what I'm saying? Like these dreams, these people, this is a thing I see a lot on social media is the girl gets a dream about how the dude was cheating on her, and then they put the dude in contempt because she had a dream about it. What you should actually be doing is like instead of putting the dude in contempt who's completely innocent 9 times out of 10, what the girl should do is wake up, pray, cancel the dream in Jesus' name, and then you can talk about the dream, but don't be in the contempt way. Say, oh, I just had a nightmare and I think it was Satan and he was trying to sow discord between our dream. Your level of intelligence went way up here. But if you wake up and you're like, oh, I had a dream you was cheating, who you sleeping with? That is exactly you are becoming an agent when you do that because you're falling for the plan. You're falling for the trap. He sets traps, even for the most intelligent people, even the most spiritually, emotionally, and intelligent people. Satan can find a trap because he's very smart. Like I'll give him credit where he's due. He's smart. He is a mf'er. Like he mess with your life if you let him. But when the second you let go and you humble yourself and you say, you know what, God is bigger. My God is bigger than this situation. And then you humble yourself and you're like, you know what, I didn't do everything right. I might not be a fool, but I did something foolish. When you let go of pride and you acknowledge God and you humble yourself, and then you can pray for wisdom and then wisdom and discernment, you will know exactly what's going on in real time. You will know exactly what strategy or what device has been used against you, and you can outwit it. It's like chess, bro. This life is chess, but everybody is so they're so level. There's just so world in the world that they're playing checkers. They don't see that it's actually chess. It's actual chess. Like this, the just like even the way I interact with people now, I don't interact like I used to because I realize if I wear my heart on my sleeve, if I really wear my heart on my sleeve, I know I'm liable to get taken advantage of. Like if I tell these people what I really think, if I tell these people what I really think in my mind or how I really feel in my heart, I'm liable to get attacked. Like I'm liable to get abused, misunderstood, or sabotaged. So a lot of times I don't be telling people how I feel. A lot of times I don't be telling people what I'm up to, and a lot of times I just don't be sharing information because I feel like it's almost like I'm in a courtroom where everything I say can be used against me. So I got to be more careful, like we all do in the last days. You got to be more careful with what you tell your family and who you're telling about how you feel and what you're going through. Because honestly, man, I just don't trust anybody. And the reason why is because it's not the people I don't trust, it's the spirits they have latched onto them that they cannot see. It's the entities that these people have that be monitoring others, that got them checking up on me too much, or they got them worried for no good reason about my life and what I'm gonna do next. So since they're so worried about what I'm finna do next, I leave them guessing. I let them keep guessing because honestly, that's the best thing you can do is let them keep guessing. You don't owe them an answer. You don't owe them to know everything you're up to. You don't owe it to them. The same way when I'm doing the Lord's work, I know he doesn't owe me flowers. He doesn't owe me anything. I'm just simply doing what I've been called to do. I'm a humble servant. And when you treat relationships that way too, you become a whole nother level of a man. Because you know what? You're not owed anything. You're not owed nothing in this world. You gotta ask for it, pray for it, work for it. And even like salvation is like a gift, right? And I was trying to they tried to gaslight me into thinking that it's not. Like it's something you have to earn, right? But you can't. And I feel like love is the same way, bro. You can't actually like really earn it. You know, you're either of it or you're not. I think that's what Jesus was trying to tell these people is you're either of the light or you're of the darkness. But when we're born in this world, they tell you that everyone's a child of God, and that's all the way cap. Like that couldn't be more cap. It's you're either light or you're darkness. You're either wise or a fool. And the difference is actually very easy to detect in somebody because all you got to do is look at the outward fruit on that person. The outward fruit will tell you what they are. What the type of fruit on the tree, you determine that the tree is what it is, you know? You can't eat pine cones, you know what I'm saying? Unless you do a whole bunch of complicated stuff. You're not going to eat pine cones. But you know what? If the tree's got fruit on it, then that's a good tree that you can eat. But a tree without fruit on it is worthless, pretty much. It's only good to be burnt. The fruitless trees, it's not what you want to be, man. You don't want to be a fruitless tree. You don't want to be a dead tree. You know what I mean? And discernment has been my best friend. God has been my best friend. Wisdom has been my best friend lately. Because we have logic, we have emotions, and then you got God. And God is perfect. When we lean too much on emotions, we're liable to make mistakes. And when you lean too much on your logic, you also can make a mistake because some things don't operate on just logic. Some things don't operate on just emotions either, you know? If I had to pick between logic and emotions, I'd always pick logic. But there's times, especially when you're dealing with a woman or a significant other or a spouse, you have to have emotional intelligence too. If you're not emotionally intelligent, you will sabotage. You will sabotage your life with that person. So there's a healthy in between. It's the don't look left and the don't look right factor. It's don't look left or right, but remove your feet from evil. That's the factor that I learned is don't be don't be a fool, play it cool. Don't be a fool, be cool. Don't worry about the lies, be wise. And don't be a fool, but be cool. Keeping your cool is one of the wisest things you can do in this generation because the enemies operate with fear. The Bible tells you do not be afraid. 365 times, one for every single day of the year. Don't be afraid. When the sudden fear comes, don't be overtaken by it, because you should know that he who is in me is greater than who is in the world. I am just visiting this planet, and I'm just like, hey guys, I'm gonna do what I'm here to do, and then I'm dipping. I'm not here to be obsessed with this world. I'm not here to overindulge. In fact, I will fast, because the reason why I fast is to deal with this messed up childhood that I had. To deal with my messed up past, I will fast. To deal with my trauma, I'll make music, or I'll relax, and I'll rest, and then I'll process it over time. It's got to be done over time. There's things the Lord can do instant miracles, yes. And that's what I wanted. That's what I truly wanted, was just like, hey, let's take it away right now. But in reality, it takes time. It's a process. Healing can be a process, and it usually is. Because even with the people who Jesus healed, right? He took away their demons. He removed them. But you know what else he told them? Is it wasn't just, all right, you're healed, that's it. He said, sin no more. He said, do not sin anymore. Because they were sinning against each other and themselves. These people were sinning against each other, sinning against God, sinning against themselves. The reason why, once you're in the healing process, you want to avoid anything that's harmful to you, right? That's pretty obvious common sense. Is when I'm in the healing process, I probably shouldn't do anything that risks hurting myself. It's very obvious, right? And sin is literally anything that hurts your soul. And knowing that my soul is extremely wounded, because God showed me how wounded it was to this morning, now I know this is probably why I shouldn't sin, because my soul is already wounded enough. I've already hurt myself enough. I've already let other people hurt me enough. So here's what I'm going to do. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to fast. I'm going to pray. I'm going to teach. I'm going to do things that I see my father doing, you know, because that's the best healing for me. Is I can do kill two birds with one stone. Is I can teach and I can vent at the same time. And I know this is relatable, because I know a lot of men struggle with lust. A lot of men struggle with lust. A lot of men struggle with, falling into temptation. But the reason they fall into temptation isn't simply because, oh, X, Y, and Z. A lot of times it's a deep rooted thing. It's a root. See, you can do, and I encourage you to do no fap. I encourage it. But the problem is, you get to a certain point where you leveled up and you need to tackle the root. You can tackle the root of the cause of why you can't stop drinking, why you can't stop smoking, why you can't stop eating, why you're an emotional eater, or an emotional fapper. Because I think a lot of people, seriously, a lot of people who have an addiction to porn or sex or whatever, they're addicted because they have emotional trauma. And that's not the same as demons either. Like, it's actually a different thing, bro. You have you see, demons operate on these negative emotions. They love to show and go to people who have that negative trauma. It's that dirty, that filth, that dirt that they play around in. Is that evil, that just that injustice, um the internal wound that they manifest in. So here's a couple things that will help you. Is get up and move is definitely a big thing. Get up and move. Go to the gym. Um, train your mind, train your body. Um, work. Do whatever you can to get them like out of you. Okay, because depression is real. But what I notice is when I'm busy and I'm doing something important, especially for the kingdom of God, and I'm doing the right thing, I won't be frustrated and I won't be depressed because I'm talking about something greater than myself. And that's a beautiful thing. Is there's someone greater than me, and I can talk about his kingdom and how it operates. And I'm just a part of the kingdom, and I'm just an ambassador for the kingdom. And I'll teach you, hey, you got a problem, you're struggling in life right now. Two things you could do is pray and fast. And these two things work. If you do them together, if you do like I did right now this morning, and you wake up, you feel you had bad demonic dreams, whatever. I wake up and the first thing I do is I pray and I cancel these dreams. The second thing I'll do is I will feed my soul. I will feed my soul rather than my flesh, and I will feast on the truth. I will feast on the words that are truth, and I will fast my flesh. See, when you starve the flesh and you feed the soul, you're healing yourself. Just know that you're healing. You're healing. If you can fast your flesh and feed your soul, because they're in contention with each other. That's something that's really true, is that I'm starting to see, is when I feed my flesh too much, it tries to take over. But when I feed my soul, I feel better, for one. I feel better. I look better. I get stronger. And yeah, there's a healthy balance because you can't really, you know, as much as I want to, I feel like I can't really fast for more than a day or two straight. I might try and do a whole day, but it's not easy. Like even a 24-hour fast is not easy, man. It's not easy at all. But you know what? Seek first the kingdom. Don't worry about so much about the little things in life. The things not going your way right now. A big reason why they're not going your way is because you got to put the kingdom first. And we often forget to. We put ourselves first. We put our emotions first. We put our feelings or our logic first, and we don't actually seek what the Father wants us to do. And then we ignore where we were really freaking messed and traumatized with and messed with. And you know, everybody wants to defend the hive mind, the hive mentality, the system mentality. And I say no, because that system severely damaged my salt and my light. That's the system we live in, severely tried to kill who I am. And I say that's pathetic because it failed. It completely failed. And I'm glad it failed because I can be myself without shame. I can speak the truth without shame or any fear of what anyone thinks about me. And that's a good thing because what they tried to take away from me, they couldn't take away from me. They the indoctrination of trying to make man like some type of slave, like you got to follow all these stupid rules, and it's like, how many rules can we make a man follow, make a child follow? So when they become a man, they don't become a man, they just become a servant to a corrupt system, a system built on lies, a system built on, you know oppression. I know not to trust in oppression. And I know not to trust in a faulty or wicked scales or an evil balance. I don't trust in a wicked balance because I know what the true balance looks like, and it doesn't look like our government. It doesn't look like the courts that we have in this world. The judge that I trust, he judges right. He judges perfectly. I don't judge perfectly, but I know who does. And that's what really matters at the end of the day is I have a judge who can settle all the problems that arise in my life, and he can do the same for you. And it's honestly so alleviating to know there's a judge who will settle everything, settle all my debts. He will settle all of my trauma, all of the abuse. He'll settle every time that I've fallen short of his glory. He will give me and you and everyone. He will judge between us with the perfect weight, with perfect scales. And like it says in the good book, he will have mercy and not sacrifice. So like I don't need to be a martyr, and that's the beautiful thing is I don't need to be a martyr for the greater good of this system, this corrupt world, this corrupt group of people who are in a hive mind. I don't have to be a martyr for them because Jesus already died as he was the martyr and he was the lamb. He was the sacrificial lamb who saved us, who saved his children. I don't need to bow down to the Babylonian system. And I refuse to bow down to it. I refuse to accept what NASA is teaching. I refuse. Like, I just refuse to go with anything that's not in line with what my Abba says. And, I'm done pretending. I'm done pretending um, like the world is so good and that everything they teach in school is true. No, it's not true because I can go straight to the source. My source is the source. It's not a AI generated, it's not a science book. My source is the source. So when people ask for my source, I'm going to say Abba, I'll say the light, I'll say Yahweh, I'll say God, I'll say Elohim, I say the source because that is the only valid source. I don't need to get into an intellectual argument with anybody. That's something I've learned recently is they try to label us. They will say, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist," and I'll be like, "No, I'm actually not. I'm actually something you can't label because when salt loses its flavor, you know, wherewith will it be salted? You want to take my individuality by labeling me. They don't understand how evil that is. These people don't understand how evil they really are when they're trying to take away a certain ambassador of the kingdom, and they try to smear your name and they try to put you in contempt. They don't understand what they're doing against the Lord when they try to put a label on you. When they try to label you, they want you to be a certain label, but you say, I don't identify with your label because I am what I am. I am that I am. And I represent the Lord. Like I represent the Creator. I'm a creative being. So how could you label me as if you created me when you didn't? How could you know a creature better than the Creator and act as if you know a creature based on one word or a phrase? As if a phrase or a one word is good enough to just describe me. You know, we're way more complex than that. If you're going to use the word to describe me, I would hope it's like wise or righteous. But it's those are qualities. Those are just qualities. Those are my qualities. That's not even who I am though. You can use words like faithful. You can use words like servant. You can use words like humble. You can use words like um, intelligent. You can use words like um, pattern recognizer and all these types of words. But those are the exact, when you're really like that, that's they're trying to bring you down to a level lower than themselves. They're trying to label you as one thing or another when they really can't, because I have oil, when you're anointed with oil and someone tries to stick something on that oil that's dripping down your head or dripping down your body, and they try to stick something on it, it will just slide off. And that's how I see it. Is the world will try to label you as this and that, and they will say, and they will give you this what's it called, unwarranted advice, didn't ask for it type of advice. And when I get that type of advice, I disregard it and I throw it in the trash can. If it's not from the Lord, I don't want it. Like, that's what these people don't understand. Is I don't want your worldly knowledge. I don't want your unsolicited advice, as if you're greater than I am. Like, and they literally admit it too. A funny thing is when I question this said advice, or this evil judgment, this the judgment or condemnation that people try to put on me, and they try to tell me like, you're this and you're that, and you need to try harder, and like all this stupid stuff, when they're not even around me. They want to be me, honestly, and deep down they do. Deep down they want to be me, because they're like, they're so they're so indoctrinated, they're so slaved, they're so enslaved to the world, that they're like, it's a crab in the bucket type of thing, where they see me outside of the bucket and they're trying to grab and take me back in the bucket, for the think tank or whatever they want to call it. And I'm just like, you're not you're not going to throw me back in. Like, I'm good, thanks. You know what I mean? I'm free. Who the Son of Man sets free is free indeed. I don't need to think or operate, um, in the patterns of this world. I recognize the patterns of this world and I say no. There's a difference. Do not be conformed to the patterns of this world. And I recognize the patterns of this world and I don't conform to them. The people who are conformed, they get jealous of you when you're different, when you stand out, when you have that uniqueness, when you have the anointing of the Lord. They want to smear that oil, they want to take it off, they want to label you. But the funny thing is, they can't. They can't. They actually can't determine who you are. They want to. They want to put a label. They want to put a negative connotation on you. But what they don't understand is they're trying to put a negative contention on the Elohim. When they disrespect you, they don't understand they're disrespecting the greater one, the one who is greater than me and them and everybody. They don't understand that when they put you in contempt with with a false accusation, they're actually putting God in contempt. They're sinning against the Lord, and they don't understand it because they're so small-minded. They're so hive-minded that they don't see the consequences of their own actions. They don't recognize that they are going to have to answer for that. Like, and I could tell them, hey, I could try to explain it, but they would never understand. As simple as it is. When you put God's creatures in contempt, you're putting the Creator in contempt. When you make all these rules and you get mad at me for not following your rules, and because I'm following the Lord, you are holding God in contempt. I'm not even the problem. It's actually you. I'm just existing. I'm just here. I just am. But they make it so hard to exist here because you have to do X, Y, Z. But I'm just like, you know what? I'm just here. I'm just a creature. Like, I'm literally a son of God, and you're trying to make me like the world, but you can't. You literally can't, because I recognize your patterns. I see your schemes. I see all the wicked plots. I see the powers that be that shouldn't be, because their power isn't from God. None of their fruit is good. They're literally rotten and dead corpses that run this world, and they make it like a prison. That's why I'm a set apart person. I'm set apart. I live outside of it because I know without a shadow of a doubt we're living in spiritual warfare, and my enemy is not necessarily a puppet, okay? These humans who are completely overtaken and possessed are just puppets. I know who's pulling the strings, and he's really, really, really bad. And he's really, really deceptive, and he's really, really evil. And the people that are being used like puppets aren't exactly my enemies. They're just the puppets on the strings. And then those puppets have strings, and then the puppets under them that also have strings. But the strings, you follow the strings and you find the puppeteer, and then you realize the puppeteer is the dragon that loosed from the abyss that is using people as pawns. It's really hard truth to swallow, but it's very simple too. It's so obvious. Like once you really start to break it down and break through, and you can see who's behind the curtain, like that movie, the Wizard of Oz. When you recognize who's behind the curtain, it all makes sense. But you got to know that that's just the world. The one who is within us is greater than the world. So there's no reason to be afraid. We were here, like we were put here for a purpose, and whether that's to expose the fraud in the system or to be good little worker bees, because there's got to be a little bit of, there's got to be guys on the good side and on the bad side. Otherwise, it's not a war. It's a battlefield, bro. You got the player characters, you got non-player characters. You got player characters that are extremely good. You've got non-player characters that are evil, but they don't know they're evil because they're just following orders. Those are non-player characters. You got player characters that they are very conscious and aware of what is happening around them. We recognize patterns. You have an inner monologue. You can talk to the Lord. You have the Holy Spirit. You're a player character. But when you're just following orders, when you're just going around and you never ask why, you never ask how this came to be or why, you're thinking on a very low level. Wake up. I can't make you wake up, but start questioning things. The sooner you start questioning things, the better your understanding will be. The sooner you start asking the right questions, the closer you'll get to God. In a sense, because you'll start to understand that this world is not what it looks like. It's just like it's literally a screen that I'm looking at a screen. But when you drop the screen, it all falls apart. Focus on this. I'm going to focus on scripture and fasting now. But I just wanted to share this. Hopefully it reaches the right people. I pray in Jesus' name this will reach the right people.